The air on the trading outpost of K7 was always thick. It was a mix of smells from 100 different worlds. There was the sharp smell of ozone from welding, the oily smell of machinery, and the strange, sweet smell of alien spices. Jin tried to ignore it all. He was a man on a mission. Jin was a human, an exobiologist. His job was to study alien life forms. Right now, he was standing in a small, crowded shop made of scrap metal. He was not here to study. He was here to buy. In front of him stood a creature that made most humans feel a deep, old fear. The creature was a Cathar. His name was Gurthak. He was huge, taller than Jin, and twice as wide. His body was covered in a hard, dark shell that looked like black rock. He had 4 arms. 2 large ones ended in sharp claws for fighting. 2 smaller ones had finer claws for delicate work. His head was a nightmare shape with large, dark eyes that did not blink and sharp mandibles that clicked when he talked. Jin needed something from him. It was a small, gray piece of lichen. It did not look like much, but to Jin it was everything. This lichen, the Cathar called it stone moss, could be the key to saving many human lives. A new sickness was spreading on a human farming planet. This lichen had properties that might stop it. "Your credits are no good here," Gurthak said, his voice a low rumble and click. "My people do not use your numbers on a screen." "We trade thing for thing," Jin nodded. He had expected this. He opened a small case. Inside were shiny bars of refined metal. "I have duranium. Very strong. Good for building or repairing your ship." Gurthak glanced at the metal and made a dismissive sound like stones grinding together. "I have metal. I need no more," Jin tried again. He held up a data crystal. It glowed with a soft blue light. "This contains the complete history of Earth's music. Symphonies, rock and roll, everything." The Cathar tilted his head. "My people do not have music. It is meaningless noise. Do you have weapons? Plasma cores?" Jin shook his head. "I am a scientist, not a soldier." "Then you have nothing I want." Gurthak clicked, starting to turn away. Just then, a small movement caught Jin's eye. From behind Gurthak's massive leg, a smaller figure peeked out. It was another Cathar, but much smaller. A child. Her shell was not dark and hard. It was a softer, lighter gray, almost translucent. Her large, dark eyes were open, but they did not focus on anything. They stared ahead, seeing nothing. She made a soft, chirping sound. "Father, I hear a new song. It is warm." Gurthak's whole body seemed to change. His stiff posture softened. The threatening click of his mandibles quieted. He turned and placed a large clawed hand gently on the child's head. "This is my daughter," he said to Jin. His voice was different now, less rough. "Her name is Su'a." Jin was surprised. The name sounded soft, unlike any Cathar word he had heard. "It is a nice name," he said politely. "The atmosphere processors on our home failed," Gurthak explained, his voice dropping. "A toxic cloud. It took her mother. It took her sight. She sees only darkness now." Jin felt a sudden sadness for the little creature. He looked at the fearsome father and his blind daughter, alone in this rough place. He understood loss. He reached into the pocket of his coat. He pulled out a small, smooth sphere. "This is a music sphere from my home," Jin said. He pressed a small button on it. A soft melody filled the air. It was a simple piece from old Earth played on a piano. The notes were clear and gentle. Sua's head tilted. Her mandibles parted slightly. She took a small, shuffling step towards the sound. "The warm song. It comes from there," she chirped, pointing a small claw towards the sphere. "Yes," Jin said. "It is for you." He held it out. Gurthak took it from him carefully, his large claws looking clumsy on the small object. He gave it to his daughter. Su'a held the sphere in her 2 small claws. She brought it close to her head, listening. A soft, happy clicking came from her. It was the first happy sound Jin had heard from a Cathar. Gurthak watched her for a long moment. Then he turned back to Jin. His businesslike manner was back, but something new was in his eyes. "The lichen for your music sphere is not a fair trade," Gurthak stated. "The sphere has more value to my daughter than your plant has to you." Jin's heart sank. He had thought this was his chance, but Gurthak continued, his voice low and serious. "I have a different offer. A proposal." Jin felt a flicker of hope. "What kind of proposal?" "I have other human artifacts, stories, art." "This is not about artifacts," Gurthak said. He looked from Jin to his daughter, who was still engrossed in the music. "My proposal is for her." "For Su'a." Jin was confused. I don't understand. You will take her, Gerthak said, his tone flat and final. You will take Sua as your bride. The words hung in the dusty air. Jin was sure he had heard wrong. He stared at the huge alien, then at the small blind child. He felt a cold shock. What? No, that's impossible, Jin stammered. We are different species. It is not. It is not done. My people have laws. She is a child. Gerthak made a sharp click of impatience. You do not understand. It is not for mating, he said the word with distaste. It is a contract of protection. He gestured around the rough outpost. My life is dangerous. I am a trader, a scavenger, sometimes a fighter. My ship is not a safe place for a blind child. If I am killed, what happens to her? My clan does not care for the weak. They would cast her out. She would die alone in the dark. He pointed a claw at Jin. But you are different. Your species is new to the galaxy, but you are resilient. You have a homeworld. You have a society that cares for its young. You showed her kindness with your song. This is a business arrangement. Jin's mind was racing. It was insane. In this arrangement, Gerthak continued, you provide Sua with safety, a home, protection. You become her guardian. In return, you get the stone moss lichen. You also get my favor, and the exclusive right to trade with my clan. We find many rare things in the dark places. They can all be yours. Jin looked at Sua. She had stopped listening to the music sphere. She was now facing them, though her eyes saw nothing. She seemed to be listening to their voices. Father, she chirped softly. The warm song man. Will he keep me safe? Is his song a kind song? Her question was so simple, so trusting. It cut through Jin's panic. He looked at Gerthak, a parent trying to secure a future for his child in the only way he knew how. He thought of the lichen that could save thousands on the farming colony. He thought of this little girl, being traded like cargo, but for a chance to live. He felt a heavy weight on him. It was a terrible choice. But as he looked into Sua's sightless eyes, he knew his decision was already made. He wasn't doing it for the lichen anymore. He was doing it for her. He knelt down so he was closer to her level. His voice was soft but clear. My song is kind, he said to Sua. Then he stood up and looked at Gerthak. He gave a single slow nod. I will take her, Jin said.
The journey back to his ship was the longest walk of Jin's life. The small gray lichen sample was secure in a case in his pocket. It felt heavy, like a rock. Behind him, he heard the soft, shuffling steps of Sua. Her small claws made a gentle tap, tap, tap on the metal floor. She held onto the edge of his coat with one delicate claw. Gerthak had given her a small bag, but it did not hold much. Jin's mind was a storm of doubt. What had he done? He, a simple biologist, had just agreed to be responsible for an alien child. He had no idea how to care for a Cathar. What did she eat? Where would she sleep? How would he explain this to anyone? They reached the airlock of his ship, the Morning Star. It was a small, functional vessel for one person. Now it would have to be for two. The door hissed open. This is my ship, Jin said, his voice sounding too loud in the quiet corridor. It is called the Morning Star. Sua tilted her head. Star, she repeated softly. I know stars. Father said they are lights in the dark. I have never seen one. Her words made Jin's heart ache. He led her inside. The ship's interior was clean and plain. Gray metal walls, a pilot's chair, and a doorway leading to the small living area. The moment the airlock door closed behind them, a new voice filled the room. It was the ship's computer. Welcome back, Jin. I detect a new life form. A juvenile Cathar. Scanning for authorization. Sua flinched at the sudden noise and tightened her grip on Jin's coat. It is okay, Jin said quickly. That is just the ship. It is like a talking house. It will not hurt you. He looked up. Computer, this is Sua. She is my guest. Grant her full access and life support. Mark her as a permanent resident. Authorization confirmed. Welcome, Sua. Jin led her further in. He showed her the small galley where he prepared food. He showed her the main console with its glowing lights. Sua could not see the lights, but she turned her head towards the gentle hum of the machinery. The ship has a song, too, she said. It is a low song. A steady song. Jin had not thought of it that way. Yes, he said. I suppose it does. The first challenge came quickly. He needed to strap into the pilot's chair for takeoff. But where would Sua go? There was no other chair. During takeoff, the ship moves very fast. You need to be safe, Jin explained. He looked around, feeling helpless. Finally, he took some soft cargo webbing and made a secure nest for her on the floor next to his chair. He helped her sit down and fastened the straps around her. She felt small and fragile under his hands. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, her mandibles pressed together tightly. The engines roared to life. The ship vibrated. Jin felt the familiar push of gravity as they launched away from the outpost. He glanced down at Sua. She was perfectly still, her unseeing eyes wide open. She was scared. "Listen to the ship's song," Jin said over the noise. "It is strong. It will keep us safe." He saw her relax a little. She was listening. The flight to the human enclave of New Daegu would take 2 days. Those 2 days were a slow, careful lesson in understanding. The first meal was a disaster. Jin offered her some of his nutrient paste. She sniffed it and turned her head away. "It is not good?" Jin asked. "It is dead food," she said politely. "My people eat living fungi and certain minerals." Jin's heart sank. He did not have any living fungi on board. He searched his supplies and found a container of dried mushrooms and a salt block he used for experiments. He offered them to her. She took a small piece of the mushroom and the salt block. She nibbled on them slowly. "This is acceptable," she chirped. "Thank you." Sleeping was another problem. Jin gave her his bunk. He would sleep on the floor, but the bunk was too soft for her. She could not get comfortable. She was used to a hard, flat surface. In the end, she ended up sleeping on the floor herself, curled in a corner, looking small and lost. Jin spent the time watching her. He saw how she navigated the ship. She would run the tips of her claws lightly along the walls, memorizing the feel of each seam and panel. She learned the layout quickly. She never bumped into anything. She could tell where he was by the sound of his breathing or the vibration of his footsteps. She was incredibly brave. She was in a completely new world, a world of darkness she had never known, with a being she could not see. Yet she did not cry. She did not complain. She just quietly learned her new environment. Sometimes she would talk about her father. "He is very loud," she said once. "His song is like thunder, but it is a good thunder. It means he is near." Jin thought about Gurthak, the fearsome warrior who traded his daughter for her safety. It was a harsh logic, but it was a logic born of love. As they neared New Daegu, Jin's anxiety returned. He had sent a message ahead to his sister Mina. He had not given details. He only said he was bringing back a guest who needed help. How would Mina react? How would anyone react? The Morning Star settled onto its landing pad with a soft thud. The engines whined down into silence. "We are here," Jin said. "This is my home." "Well, one of them." He helped Sua unfasten the webbing. She stood up and shuffled close to him, holding his coat again. The main door opened, letting in the bright, artificial light of the landing bay. Standing there, just outside the ship, was his sister Mina. She had a bright smile on her face, ready to greet her brother. But when she saw Jin, and then saw the small gray insect-like creature clinging to his side, her smile vanished. Her eyes went wide with shock and confusion. "Jin?" she said, her voice tight. "What? What is that?" Sua flinched at the tone and pressed herself against Jin's leg. Jin took a deep breath. He put a protective hand on Sua's back. "Mina," he said, his voice calm but firm. "This is Sua. She is going to be living with us." Mina's mouth hung open. She stared at her brother, then at the alien child clinging to his leg. Her brain could not make sense of the picture. Jin was a quiet man, a scientist. He did not bring home strange, scary-looking creatures. "Living with us?" Mina finally managed to say. Her voice was a high whisper. "Jin, what are you talking about? What is that thing?" Sua made a small, frightened click and hid completely behind Jin's legs. Jin's face became serious. He kept his hand on Sua's back. "Her name is Sua. She is a Cathar, and she is not a thing. She is under my protection." "Protection?" Mina stepped closer, her voice rising. "From what? Did you find a lost pet?" "Jin, look at her! She's monstrous." Jin's eyes narrowed. He looked at his sister, who was usually so kind. He felt a surge of anger. He knelt down next to Sua. "Sua," he said, his voice gentle. "This is my sister. Her name is Mina. Her voice is sharp right now because she is surprised. She is not usually like this." He then looked back up at Mina, his gaze hard. "And she is blind, Mina. She can't see how hideous you think she is. All she can do is hear the ugliness in your voice." The words hit Mina like a physical blow. She took a step back, her face flushing with shame. She looked at the small alien again. She saw the way the child held on to Jin, how her unseeing eyes were wide with fear. The initial shock began to fade, replaced by a slow dawning of reality. Jin was serious. This was not a joke. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. I am sorry, she said, though the words were stiff. You just surprised me. Hello, Sua. Sua did not come out, but she made a soft, questioning click. The sharp voice is your nest sister? She asked Jin. Yes, Jin said. She lives here too. Mina watched the interaction, her scientist's mind starting to work. The child was communicating. She was intelligent. She was scared. The word blind echoed in Mina's head. She felt a pang of guilt for her first reaction. Let's go inside, Mina said, her tone much softer now. It's cold out here. Jin's home was a small modular habitat on the edge of the research compound. It was built for humans. The doors were the wrong size. The chairs were the wrong shape. Everything was designed for soft bipedal creatures, not for a small being with a hard shell who needed to feel the walls. The first few days were a series of small problems. Sua could not sit on the soft chairs. She would slide off. She could not use a human bed. The floor was more comfortable for her. She could not eat their food. Jin had to order special nutrient fungi and mineral blocks from a biosupplier, but slowly, Mina watched. She saw how Jin cared for the child. He was patient. He learned to move in a way that did not startle her. He would hum or speak softly before he entered a room so she would know he was there. He gave her the music sphere and she would listen to it for hours, her body rocking gently to the melody. One afternoon, Mina was working at the table, studying plant samples. Sua was on the floor nearby, running her claws over a textured mat Jin had bought for her. She suddenly looked up towards Mina. Your smell is different from Jin's, Sua stated. Mina was startled. My smell? Yes, Jin smells of the deep earth and quiet water. You smell of green growing things and sunlight. Mina put down her data pad. She was fascinated. You can tell that just by smell? Sua does not see like you, the girl explained, as if it was the most simple thing in the world. She sees with sound and smell and the air on her shell. Your hands are always touching plants. They have a green smell. Your voice is higher than Jin's. It is like light, so you smell of sunlight. Mina was speechless. This was not a monster. This was a person who perceived the world in a beautiful, unique way. Her fear and disgust finally melted away, replaced by a deep curiosity. From that day, Mina started to try. She learned to talk to Sua calmly. She helped Jin find better foods for her. She even tried to describe colors to her. The sky is blue, Mina said one day. What is blue? Sua asked. Mina thought for a moment. It is a cool sound, like a gentle wind. It is the feeling of clean water. Sua considered this. I like blue, she chirped. Jin watched the two of them form a bond. It made the strange new life feel more normal. Sua began to understand the layout of the habitat. She could move through it with confidence. She knew the different sounds of Jin's and Mina's footsteps. She knew the time of day by the hum of the colony's power grid. She started to describe them in her own way. To her, Jin was not a man. He was the deep green hum and the safe forest. Mina was the bright green light and the sun-water sound. One evening, they were all in the main room. Jin was reading. Mina was working. Sua was listening to her music sphere. She suddenly turned it off and sat in silence for a while. Jin? Mina? She said softly. Yes, Sua, Jin replied. In the place before with my father, I was alone when he was away. The ship was big and empty. Its song was cold. She paused, searching for the right words. This place? Your songs are warm. I am not alone here. Mina looked at Jin, her eyes shining. Jin felt a lump in his throat. The arrangement had begun as a trade, a desperate deal. But in that moment it became something else. It became a family. Sua was not a guest or a burden. She was their little sister. She could not see the world they lived in, but she helped them see it in a new way. She showed them that a home was not just a place you lived. It was a place where you were safe and warm and not alone. And for a little blind girl from the stars, that was everything. The new routine settled into a kind of peaceful rhythm. Jin continued his work, analyzing the precious lichen in his small lab attached to the habitat. Mina tended to the enclave's botanical gardens, and Sua learned the shape of her new world. She had a small corner of the main room with her textured mat, her music sphere, and a smooth, flat stone she liked to rest on. She was happy. Her world was built from the steady green hum of Jin's presence and the bright sun-water sound of Mina's voice. The habitat was a symphony of safe, familiar noises. The hum of the lights, the soft hiss of the air recycler, the tap of her own claws on the floor. She knew every sound. This peace was broken by the arrival of the envoy. It was a normal day. Jin was in his lab. Mina was in the garden. Su'a was on her mat, listening to the music sphere. The main door chimed. A sound she had learned meant a visitor. She paused her music and tilted her head. Jin came out of his lab. He checked the door monitor. His body went still. "It's a Galactic Commons envoy," he said, his voice low. "A Vexian. This is a surprise." He opened the door. A new presence filled the room. Su'a felt it immediately. The air changed. It became colder, sharper. A new smell arrived, like old polished metal and something bitter. "Human Jin," a voice said. It was a dry, smooth voice. It slid into the room like a knife. To Su'a, it felt like cold, sharp needles on her skin. She shrank back against the wall. "Envoy Zil," Jin said, his voice careful and polite. "This is an unexpected honor. How can I help you?" "I am here for a routine integration check," the dry voice replied. "To ensure all species on New Daegu are adhering to Commonwealth codes." The presence moved further into the room. Su'a could feel the vibration of its footsteps. They were light and precise. She tried to make herself small. Then the footsteps stopped. She felt a focus of attention turn towards her. The cold feeling intensified. By the silent void, the envoy, Zil, hissed. The needles in his voice were now pointed directly at her. "What is that?" "Creature doing in a certified biohabitat." "And why is it so close to your living quarters?" Su'a flinched. She pressed her shell against the wall, wishing she could disappear. Jin took a step, putting himself between Zil and Su'a. "This is Su'a. She is under my protection." "Protection?" Zil's voice dripped with contempt. Or is this some grotesque human perversion? "To keep a pet so monstrous? Look at it." "It is an unnatural thing." Su'a did not understand all the words. Perversion. Monstrous. Unnatural. But she understood the feeling behind them. It was the same feeling she had felt from Mina on the first day, but 1,000 times stronger. It was hate. It was disgust. It was cold. It was then that Zil noticed something. He noticed that her large, dark eyes were not looking at him. They were staring blankly at the floor. A new, cruel understanding came into his voice. "Ah," he said, the sound long and drawn out. "I see, it is blind." He took a step closer. "A clever, if pathetic, strategy. You keep it because it cannot see your own form. A truly hideous symbiosis. You are both repulsive to look at, so you hide together in the dark." The word hideous hung in the air. It was a hard, ugly word. Su'a had never heard it before, but she felt its meaning. It was a word that meant you did not belong. It was a word that meant you were wrong. Jin was angry. Su'a could feel the heat of his anger from across the room. But before he could speak, Su'a moved. She was scared. Her whole small body was trembling. But the cold, sharp voice was attacking Jin. It was calling her safe forest, her green hum. Hideous. That was not true. She took one small, shuffling step away from the wall. Her voice was a soft, shaky chirp. "Who is the noisy one?" Shil fell silent. He seemed shocked that she had spoken. "It speaks?" he said, his tone full of disbelief. Su'a turned her head towards the sound of his voice. She could feel the hard, cold shape of him in the room. "You are very loud," she stated, her voice gaining a little strength. "Your shape is full of hard edges and cold colors. You smell of old metal and bitterness." She then took another step towards the warm presence of Jin. She reached out and gently touched his arm. His warmth was a comfort against the envoy's cold. "Jin is not hideous," she said, her voice clear and sure now. "He is warm. His sound is a forest, deep and safe. His sister Mina is like sunlight on water." She tilted her head, her blank eyes facing the place where Zil stood. "You say I cannot see, but you are the one who is blind. You only look. You do not see." The room was utterly silent. The only sound was the soft hum of the lights. The cold, sharp presence of the envoy seemed to shrink. The air felt less heavy. Su'a had not yelled. She had not used big words. She had simply stated what was true in her world. She had seen the essence of the envoy, and she had found it cold and bitter. And she had seen the essence of Jin and Mina, and she had found them warm and safe. Her truth, spoken from the darkness, was more powerful than all the envoy's cruel words. Jill did not speak. There was no clever reply. The silence stretched on. Finally, they heard his precise footsteps moving towards the door. The door hissed open and then closed again. The cold presence was gone. The room felt warm again. Jin knelt down in front of Sua. He did not speak for a moment. Then he put a hand on her shoulder. "Thank you, Sua," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That was the bravest thing I have ever seen." Sua leaned into his touch. "Was the noisy one wrong?" she asked quietly. "Are you and Mina hideous?" Jin smiled. It was a warm, sad smile. To him and to many who think like him, yes. Our species are very different. We look strange to each other. He paused, choosing his words carefully. But you taught him, and you reminded me, that what matters isn't what is on the outside. It is what is in here. He gently tapped his chest over his heart. Mina, who had come in from the garden and heard the last part, came over and knelt beside them. She put her arm around Sua. "You're right, Sua," Mina said, her voice soft. "We see with more than just our eyes. You see better than any of us." Sua felt the warmth of them both around her. The fear was gone. The cold was gone. She was home. The noisy one with his sharp words was wrong. He was the one in the dark. The silence in the habitat after Envoy Zill's departure was deep and warm. Jin and Mina stayed kneeling on the floor with Sua between them. The little Cathar was still trembling slightly, the echo of the cold, sharp voice still clinging to her. Jin finally broke the silence. His voice was full of a new kind of respect. "Sua, what you did. No one has ever spoken to a Vexian envoy like that." Mina let out a shaky laugh. "They think they're better than everyone. You showed him he wasn't." Sua leaned into Jin's side. His words were cold. "They hurt. He said you were hideous." She struggled with the unfamiliar word. "But it is not true. His song was all wrong. It was broken. He is a very unhappy being," Jin agreed. "And unhappy people often try to make others feel unhappy too." They sat together for a long time, not saying much. The event had shaken them all. For Jin and Mina, it was a stark reminder of the prejudice in the galaxy. For Sua, it was her first real encounter with pure, directed malice. But it had also done something important. It had cemented their bond. Sua had not just defended herself. She had defended them. Later that evening, as Jin was preparing the special fungal meal for Sua, he noticed she was quieter than usual. She picked at her food, her mandibles moving slowly. "Are you okay, Sua?" he asked gently. She put her food down. "Jin, the noisy one. He saw me. He saw you, with his eyes, and he said we were wrong." She looked up, her blank eyes facing him. "What do you see when you look at me?" The question hung in the air. Mina, who was washing dishes, stopped and turned to listen. It was the question they had been afraid she would never ask. Jin put down the food container and came to sit opposite her. He thought carefully. He would not lie to her, but he would not use the envoy's cold words. "I see a brave girl," he began, his voice soft. "I see a shell the color of the moon on a cloudy night. It is not dark and hard like the warriors of your people. It is soft and light, like a pearl." Sua was very still, listening intently. "I see your eyes," Jin continued. "They are large and dark. They do not see light, but I think they see other things, important things. They are beautiful eyes. I see your claws. They are small and delicate. You use them to feel the world, to learn its shape. You are not hideous, Sua. You are different, and different is not bad." Mina came over and sat next to Jin. "He's right. When I first saw you, I was scared. Because you were different from anyone I had ever seen. My eyes told me to be afraid, but I was wrong. Now when I look at you, I don't see a monster. I see my little sister." Sua processed this. She reached out and gently touched Jin's face with her claws. She felt the smooth skin, the curve of his nose, the softness of his lips. She did the same to Mina, feeling the different shape of her face. "You have no shell," she observed. "You are very soft," Jin smiled. "Yes, we are very soft. That is why we need to be kind to each other. And you have only 2 arms, she added. "It must be difficult." This made Mina laugh. "Sometimes it is." Sua was quiet again, thinking. The noisy one. He had a shell, like me? "No," Jin said. "The Vexians have iridescent skin. It shines with many colors, but his heart was dark. The outside does not matter if the inside is cold. Sua seemed to understand this. She picked up her food and started eating again, her movements more confident. The worry was gone from her posture. The next day, something changed in the habitat. The fear was gone. A new, stronger feeling took its place. It was a feeling of family. They were no longer a human man, a human woman, and a Cathar girl trying to live together. They were a unit. They were Jin, Mina, and Sua. Sua started to explore more. She became more confident in describing her world. She told Mina that the plants in her garden had a happy, buzzing song. She told Jin that his laboratory had a clean thinking smell. One afternoon, she was listening to her music sphere when she suddenly turned it off. "Jin? Mina?" she called. They both answered from where they were working. "I have a question," she said. "On the ship with my father, I was his daughter. Here with you, what am I?" Jin and Mina looked at each other. They had never said it out loud. The word had been in their hearts for a while, but they were afraid to scare her by saying it. Mina walked over and knelt down. "You are our family, Sua," Jin joined them. "You are not a guest. You are not a contract. You are our sister." The word sister seemed to vibrate in the air. Sua knew this word. She had heard Mina use it for Jin. "Sister," she repeated, testing the sound. She clicked her mandibles softly. "It is a warm word. It is a good word." She reached out and found both their hands, holding one of each of their soft, warm hands in her delicate claws. "Then you are my brother, and you are my sister." In that moment, the last piece of the strange puzzle fell into place. The trade was forgotten. The Laken, the deal with Gurthak, the fear and the prejudice, it all faded away. All that was left was the three of them in the warm, quiet room. Sua had come to them as a blind girl who could not see their faces. But she had shown them how to see with their hearts. And in her world of darkness, she had found the brightest thing of all, a family. The seasons turned on New Daegu. The light from the sun grew softer, then stronger again. Inside the habitat, life had found its gentle rhythm. Sua was no longer the scared, silent child who clung to Jin's coat. She was a vibrant part of their small family, her presence filling the rooms with a unique energy only she possessed. She had mapped the entire habitat and the small garden outside with her senses. She knew every crack in the floor, every plant in Mina's garden by its scent, and every change in the hum of the colony's machinery. She was happy. One evening, they were all together in the main room. Jin was reading a book on his datapad. Mina was mending a piece of clothing. Sua was sitting on her smooth stone, not listening to her music sphere, but just listening. "The colony is loud today," she remarked softly. "The big machine in the center is humming a worried song." Jin looked up from his reading. He had learned to trust her perceptions. The big machine was the central reactor. If Sua said it sounded worried, it was worth checking. He made a mental note to mention it to the techs. "You are our early warning system, Sua," Mina said with a smile, not looking up from her mending. Sua clicked happily. She liked having a job. Later, as Jin was tucking her into her sleeping nook, a padded, flat space they had made for her in the corner, she spoke again, her voice sleepy. "Jin?" "Yes, Sua?" "Do you think my father is safe? Does his ship have a good song?" Jin's heart tightened. She rarely asked about Gurthak. He knew she missed him. "I am sure he is safe," Jin said, hoping it was true. "His ship is very strong. Its song is probably very loud and brave. Like thunder," Sua whispered, and soon her breathing became slow and even. The next day, a message arrived for Jin. It was on a secure channel encrypted with Cathar symbols. Jin's hands trembled slightly as he opened it. It was from Gurthak. The message was brief and to the point. It was a data packet and a short audio-only transmission. "Human Jin." Gurthak's familiar, gravelly voice filled the room. "The contract is fulfilled. The data contains coordinates for 3 mineral-rich asteroids and 2 derelict ships with valuable salvage. They are yours. My clan honors its deals." There was a long pause. The only sound was the static of deep space. Then the voice returned, softer. How is my daughter?" Jin felt a lump in his throat. He quickly recorded a reply. He did not send data about asteroids or salvage. He sent a simple video. It was a short clip of Sua in the garden. She was describing the smell of a new flower to Mina. "It is like the color blue," she was saying. her voice confident and happy, but a little sweeter. Jin spoke at the end of the video. She is safe. She is happy. She is loved. She asks if your ship has a good song. You can see for yourself, her song is strong and warm. He sent the message and hoped it would find the fearsome warrior somewhere in the vast, dark sky. A few weeks later, another message came. This one had no data, no coordinates. It was only audio. Girthak's voice was different. The usual rough edges were gone. "I have received your transmission," he said. There was another long silence. When he spoke again, his voice was so quiet Jin had to turn up the volume. "Her song is more than I hoped for. Thank you." The connection ended. Jin knew that was probably the last he would ever hear from Girthak. The deal was truly done, but it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. That night they had a small celebration. Mina baked a special bread that smelled wonderful, even if Sua could not eat it. They played music from Earth, and Sua described the instruments in her own way. The violin was a sad, beautiful wind. The drum was a happy heartbeat. As the music played, Jin looked at his family. Mina was laughing, her face bright. Sua was moving her body to the rhythms she felt in the air, her unseeing eyes closed in contentment. He thought about the day he had first met Girthak on that dusty outpost. He thought about the desperate deal for a piece of lichen. He had thought he was making a trade to save a colony. He never imagined he was making a trade to find a daughter, a sister. Sua had done more than just come to live with them. She had changed them. She had shown them that the galaxy was not just about different shapes and colors. It was about different songs. Some songs were cold and sharp like envoy sills. Some were loud and brave like thunder, like Girthak's. And some were warm, deep forest songs and bright sunwater songs, like the one they had created together. She had taught them that true sight had nothing to do with eyes. It had to do with the heart. She could not see their faces, but she saw their kindness. She saw their patience. She saw their love, and in return, she gave them a new way to see the universe, not as a scary place full of monsters, but as a place where a family could be found in the most unexpected of forms. The music sphere played its gentle melody. Sua shuffled over to Jin and leaned against him, her small hard shell pressing against his soft side. She reached out one claw and found Mina's hand. "This is a good song," Sua chirped softly. "It is our song." Jin put his arm around her and held Mina's hand. He looked at his two sisters, one who could see the world with light, and one who could see the world with her soul. "Yes," he said, his voice full of warmth. "It is our song."